Hey guys, welcome back to Phil Plays TCG. Today we are talking about something not TCG related. Today we are talking about the Dragon Ball series as a whole. We are going to be doing a tier list of the best and worst arcs or sagas of the Dragon Ball franchise, going from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and of course Dragon Ball Super, and including some of the manga-only arcs that we have so far. Dragon Ball Daima just dropped a new trailer. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I might do a reaction to that, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Never done reaction content before. But I just want to give you my thoughts and opinions on what I thought were some of the best or my favorite arcs in Dragon Ball. I probably should just preface this by saying this is going to be my personal opinion, of course. I just recently rewatched all of Dragon Ball Z, so it is fresh in my head. And a long time ago, I did a video with my girlfriend, and we ranked the Super Saiyan forms, or just like the Saiyan transformations that we saw in Dragon Ball. And then a lot of you guys seem to like that. So I'm going to try to do another video with her, like going over maybe what her thoughts and opinions are the villains of the Dragon Ball series. But we'll figure that out later down the line. But for now, I thought this would be just fun to go over the different sagas of Dragon Ball. So if you like this type of content and you want to see more of it, like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you do want to see more types of content like this. I do enjoy a good tier list. Now, I will preface this by saying I haven't watched the OG Dragon Ball series as much. I think I've maybe watched it twice in its entirety, while I have watched Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Super, much more. I will preface this by saying I'm also not the biggest OG Dragon Ball fan. I do think there's some really cool moments in the series, but for the most part, I got into Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Z. That was my starting point. Then I went back to watch Dragon Ball with my roommate at the time, who had the whole series on DVD, so we would just watch that every night for a while. And there's some good things about this. So, you know, let's skip all the rest of that and let's talk about my thoughts and opinions. We'll start with the Pilaf saga. This is the first saga, of course, that introduced Goku and the gang, Bulma, Yamcha, Puar, Oolong, Master Roshi. So it's a good starting point for Dragon Ball. I think this is a solid arc because it helped establish a lot of the main characters. It had some really cool moments. And I think overall it is a good starting point for the series. And it would really only just go up from there for the most part. The World Martial Arts Tournament, which is the first tournament arc for the Dragon Ball franchise, I think it is also a solid arc. There are a lot of really cool fights. Goku's testing his strength against all these other incredibly powerful fighters at the time. And it was always so funny to see people's reaction to this little kid like doing so well. I overall think the series is pretty darn good. Well, this arc in particular is really, really good. I love Master Roshi, cosplaying as Jackie Chung. We didn't really get to see Roshi fight too many times in the series, so this is just really cool to see him do. So yeah, I'd say it's a pretty solid arc. The Red Ribbon Army saga. This one I don't remember as well. I do think that you know what, we're just gonna throw it in solid. I think, having Pilaf was a okay first time villain for the series, while the Red Ribbon Army kind of solidified itself as the next really big step up for a villain, a human-made organization with a bunch of talented fighters, robots, cyborgs, androids, all that spiel. And Goku actually had to really step up his game to compete with them. But at the end of the day, they were still an army that was defeated by a child Saiyan, of course, but still. And the fact is, this saga helped, would make a comeback in the Android saga later on. And that was a really cool thing that there's these two sagas that connect to each other in completely different timelines in the Dragon Ball franchise. I want to put the Fortune Teller Baba arc as a mid tier, and mid just basically means that it's okay, it's not bad, it's not solid, it's okay. We got some interesting fights with Fortune Teller Baba's fighters, and of course we got the reintroduction of Grandpa Gohan, which showed off how powerful he was, even in comparison to how strong Goku was at the time. It was fairly quick, though, from what I remember. I don't really remember too much about this saga, so I'm just going to leave it there. Next, we're going to take the next World Martial Arts Tournament. We're going to throw that also in solid as well. Nothing bad. Better than mid, but it's also not good. We're going to change good to great. I think that's what we're going to do. It's another solid tournament arc. And the fight between Tien and Goku was very highly anticipated because Tien was able to beat Jackie Chung, the previous winner, and the one who beat Goku. So at least that's what I remember. I think this fight overall was pretty solid, giving Goku a great rival in Tien. But once again, like, it's hard for me to give this its own. It's hard for me to put this any higher than it is, just because of my relationship with the Dragon Ball franchise, the OG Dragon Ball franchise. So I think it's a solid arc. Next we have the King Piccolo arc, and I will say this is one of the best arcs. Like, from what I can remember, this being one of the this is the arc that completely just changed the game. You have King Piccolo's henchmen killing Krillin, and putting Goku on this journey to get revenge for the first time, like true revenge for his character, and getting absolutely mollywopped by Piccolo. We had never seen somebody so overwhelmingly powerful at this point in the series. And this is him before he even got his, youth back. You have introduction of characters like Yajirobe, who, would play kind of some special role in the series, but kind of like fade away into the background. You have the introduction of the Pilaf gang. You have him killing Master Roshi, Chaozu, and even Tien. If I remember correctly, Tien dies. The introduction of the evil containment wave, or the Mafuba. It's such a cool, awesome arc that then you have Goku fighting him in his prime. Goku got a huge buff after training with Korin. It's such a cool arc. I definitely remember this being really, really good, and one of, if not the highlight arc of the Dragon Ball original Dragon Ball series. Next, we have the final martial arts tournament where Goku fought a reincarnated King Piccolo, or Piccolo Jr., or we know him as Piccolo now. This is a tough one. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to put this in great arcs. I think this is a really great way to end the series, or I guess that original series. You have Goku who disappears for a while, comes back, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's Goku. He's gotten so tall. And he's gotten so much stronger. You have reintroduction of Chi-Chi, who they agree to get married after the tournament. And you have the best fight in the series by far, which is Goku versus Piccolo. And it was a very good fight. Piccolo pulled out some tricks he hasn't pulled out since he does a lot of really cool things that he doesn't do again until Dragon Ball Super. And I enjoy Piccolo. I really like him as a character, so I loved seeing him get to fight and hold his own. And overall, the series I think this is a great way to end the series. So I think putting it in great arcs is going to be a good one for me. Next, we're going to hop into Dragon Ball Z, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major arcs. I think they're combining a lot of the final arcs, like the Super Buu, Fusion, and Kid Buu arcs, all into one. Yeah, let's talk about it. Dragon Ball Z is fresh in my mind. And what I can say here is we're gonna throw Saiyan Saga into great arcs, but honestly, I could also see it being in solid arcs. And I'm also not gonna organize these by oh, this is better than this arc. I hate doing that. I'm just gonna put them all in particular tiers. I can make an argument for the Saiyan Saga being great, but I can also make an argument for it being solid. For the most part, I think the Saiyan saga is incredibly slow. Dragon Ball Kai really helped speed up that part of the show. But it is an amazing arc because coming off the heels of the fight between Goku and Piccolo, you have Raditz showing up, who not only reveals that Goku's an alien, but reveals that he's Goku's brother, and that he is so much stronger than both Goku and Piccolo combined. The two strongest fighters at the time couldn't even stand a chance against this guy. And it was just an absolute beatdown. And then, of course, Goku sacrifices himself to get the win, only to find out there's two more stronger Saiyans coming. So we get introduced to King Kai. Goku gets a huge power-up, with the Kaioken, the Spirit Bomb. The Z Fighters get one last really strong hurrah where they do their best to fight the Saiyans, but get absolutely massacred by Nappa. We lose Yamcha, Tien, Piccolo, Chaozu, and Goku shows up, whoops Nappa, and he and Vegeta, the first of many confrontations between these guys. But it's a great arc overall. I think Kai did a really good job of speeding up a lot of the slower parts of it, but I do think the Saiyan saga is a great starting point for the series. A great starting point for Dragon Ball Z. Next, I'm assuming this is the Namek saga. I'm going to throw it in solid. This is coming off right off after the battle with the Saiyans. Goku's in need of healing. Everyone's dead, but we find out that there might be a planet with Dragon Balls that we could use to revive them. So we go off to Namek. It's a long time to get to Namek, but once we do, we find out, there's a group of evil space pirates here, also looking for the Dragon Balls. For the most part, though, this is a part that I usually skip. I skip around mostly. I do the fight with I would like to just skip to the part where Vegeta fights Dodoria, Zarbon, and the Ginyu Force shows up. It's just, I don't know. This one just doesn't really do it for me. I do think it's a solid arc because, we're going off to space, we're on a whole new planet, and all these crazy things are happening. But for the most part, I could even make an argument where I could put it into mid arcs. But no, I'll keep it in solid. A lot of people really do like this arc. I am not one of those people, but it is okay. It's all good. The Frieza saga, right up there with great arcs. I don't know when you would technically start the Frieza saga. I'm thinking of it when the Ginyu Force is dead and Frieza is taking more of a prominent role in fighting the Z Fighters that are there. We get the reintroduction of Piccolo, who fused with Nail and is incredibly strong. I loved watching Piccolo and Frieza fight. Then you have, Vegeta getting his power boost, thinking he's a Super Saiyan, and only to get mollywopped by Frieza. And of course, you have Goku making his grand reappearance to fight Frieza after healing once again. This is just an arc that had Goku being on the sidelines way too long. And it's one of the greatest fights in anime history. It's also one of the longest fights in anime history, and a lot of it is filler. You can't deny that. But being the first moment where Goku goes Super Saiyan is still top tier anime moments for me. And this is where Toriyama wanted to end the series. At the end of the series, Goku's dead, or supposedly dead. He's defeated this evil tyrant who controlled the universe, and he achieved the legend of the Super Saiyan. That could have honestly been a good way for the series to end. So with all that being said, I do think this is a great arc and something that a lot of people will, hold in high regard. Even though, yes, we know the 5 minutes thing is really, really stupid. We know what that means. Next is the Android saga, and I'm going to consider this being when Future Trunks comes back, up until the point where Cell is first revealed. And honestly, it's up there as one of the best arcs in the entire franchise. I love this arc. When Frieza returns to Earth with his dad, everyone's like, oh, we're boned, Goku's not here. And then this dude who we've never seen before shows up, go Super Saiyan. So the fact that we had a second Super Saiyan transformation so early after Goku achieved it, it was blowing our minds. We were like, holy crap, who is a sword-wielding Super Saiyan? This guy is awesome. And then to find out that Goku is still stronger than he is, like, oh, you can't deny, like, when Goku was blocking that guy dude's sword swings with his finger. Oh, then we find out that 3 years from now, the entire world is going to be plunged into hell because of androids created by Dr. Gero, and the scientist from the Red Ribbon Army back in Dragon Ball. And these androids kill everyone, you know. And I'm also going to include the Future Trunks arc, the Future Trunks movie, like History of Trunks, because I love that movie. That movie is so good. You could even call it a special, but I absolutely love it. It's the darkest timeline for Dragon Ball. And just the whole theme of this arc was so good. We have the introduction of Vegeta turning Super Saiyan, absolutely destroying Android 19. We have introduction of Android 17 and 18. It's so good. Just like, it's such a different tone from the previous two arcs, you know. First we have aliens coming down, trying to get the Dragon Balls. Then we have us going to an alien planet to get the Dragon Balls and fighting an evil space tyrant. Then we have us returning to Earth, dealing with someone from the future. And then robotic killing machines. It's just such a cool... It was a dark tone. And it only continued to get darker with the next season, the Cell Saga, which it's going up in top tier for me. Like, I loved the Cell Saga. Cell's introduction in the series is still to this day probably one of the best, if not the best introduction of a villain, because the creepiness of it. When Piccolo merges with Kami to get a power boost to fight the androids, he goes to Ginger Town because apparently something else is causing people, is killing people. Something else has emerged that's not the androids. And we were like, oh my god, what could possibly rival the androids? Only to find this bug man, this creepy looking bug dude who's whispering things to Piccolo, if that's what I remember at least. Or maybe I'm getting confused with Dragon Ball Z Abridged style, which is also a really cool intro. And then we see this dude drink someone, like just straight up start absorbing someone. That was still one of the creepiest moments that I'm still not okay with at this, honestly. It's so creepy when Cell like absorbs somebody. And then you go on to like having this awesome fight between Piccolo and Cell. And then you have Piccolo versus Android 17. Then you have Cell fighting androids and Piccolo. Then you have him absorbing 17. Oh no, Android 16 fighting Cell 2 is really, really cool. Then you have Vegeta and Trunks unlocking Super Saiyan, or like Ultra Super Saiyan. And then, or Super Saiyan Grade 2. And just going up from there, like, you know, like Trunks versus Cell, Goku versus Cell, Gohan versus Cell. Like, the Cell games, there's so much good in this series, and Cell is one of the coolest villains because he is essentially an amalgamation or a combination of everything that has happened or led up to the current moment from the past. He's an android created from the Red Ribbon Army scientist from Dragon Ball. He's got the cells of all the previous villains and heroes in the show. He is essentially the outcome of all the things that Goku has done in the show, if that makes sense. And to see Goku pass the torch off to Gohan, this whole time we've always seen Gohan like being incredibly powerful, but we've never seen him like fully like controlling his power. The fact that we finally get to see that in the form of Super Saiyan 2 and him just absolutely destroying Cell. And then the final, oh my god, the final Kamehameha, the Kamehameha clash, Goku's sacrifice, which is one of my favorite moments in Dragon Ball's entirety. Same with the clash of the Kamehameha waves. But, oh my god, this arc is so good. And honestly, could have been a great way to end the series if they didn't go with the Buu saga. Hands down, Cell Saga is one of my favorites. Hands down. Oh my god. Next, let's start with the Babidi Saga, which I'm going to assume this is taking in, like, you know, the high school arc, the World Tournament arc, and then the Babidi Saga right before Buu shows up. That's me personally. Overall, I think it is a solid arc as well. The high school stuff was kind of charming at first, but going back to rewatch it is kind of a bore. You kind of want to skip past it to get to the more important stuff or the more exciting things. Introduction of Goten, Goku's second son is really, really cool. You have Goten and Trunks being able to turn Super Saiyans easily, which is never really explained how easily they were able to attain it when this is the same Trunks that should have, like, that was in the future Trunks timeline. I don't know how he had to fight so hard to attain Super Saiyan, but yet these two can do it easily. This is the first step of him downgrading the Super Saiyan form to basically just easy, something like basically what Vegeta said, a child's plaything. But honestly, like, taking all that into aside, I love seeing, adult Gohan. I love seeing, what happened to the Z Fighters 7 years after the Cell games. This is a cool, this is a moment where Gohan really should have been the main character of the series. But apparently people weren't happy that Goku was regulated to a sideline character again, so they brought Goku back as the main character. And for the most part, this arc, these arcs, I guess, are solid. They're great. They're not bad, but they're not, great either. The Buu saga. I personally am going to throw the Buu saga. To me, I could throw the Buu saga into one of my favorite arcs, but this is probably just a bias thing. I love the Buu saga, but a lot of people would even put it down into solid. But I think I'm going to meet us in the middle and put it in the great arcs. This, I'm going to take it that it means that this is talking about when Buu is released all the way up to Kid Buu's defeat. There are so many crazy things that happen in this arc. Buu defeats Gohan. Majin Vegeta. We have the fight between Vegeta and Goku, which is, oh my god, I love that fight so much. The animation quality and the sheer heaviness of that fight is so easily seen. I love the Vegeta sacrificing himself. Another one of my favorite moments in Dragon Ball. The introduction of Super Saiyan 3, which is to me still one of my favorite Saiyan transformations, and just how awesome that form is, even though it doesn't really get any wins. I love Fusion. I love Mystic Gohan showing up, absolutely mollywhopping Super Buu. Kid Buu was really, really terrifying. Buu tanks, Buu Han. There's so many really cool things about this arc. But the bad things, I will admit, is really nothing. All these new cool things get shown off, and yet nothing is able to beat Buu. In comparison to other arcs where a new transformation shows up, it wins. It just beats the opponent. You have Super Saiyan 3 being introduced, and while Goku said he could have beaten Fat Buu, he chose not to, is kind of ridiculous. He wanted to let the new generation take over. So Super Saiyan 3, even against Kid Buu, really didn't do anything. And when Gotenks achieved it, also with Fusion didn't do shit, because you have Gotenks who achieves Fusion and Super Saiyan 3 and doesn't kill Super Buu, even though it's implied that he was stronger than Super Buu. Briefly. But Super Saiyan 3 drains way too much power. Then you have the introduction of Mystic Gohan, who should have been able to beat Super Buu, but because Gohan loves to be cocky, when he gets a power boost, Buu was able to turn the tables and absorb Gotenks and Piccolo. Goku reappears on Earth after getting his life back, only for Gohan to be absorbed, and then you have the creation of Vegito, which Vegito could have beaten Buu once again, but chose not to because he wanted to try to save his family. And then, of course, Kid Buu becoming a thing, and Goku not grabbing Gohan when he needed to, instead of grabbing Dende and Mr. Satan. Imagine if Goku was able to grab Gohan and the boys. Imagine on Namek, you have Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, Ultimate Gohan, and Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks fighting Buu. Would have been awesome. Gohan, I still think Ultimate Gohan would have beaten Kid Buu, hands down. But there's a lot of disappointments with this arc, but I just love all the zaniness and all the craziness that happened in this arc that Akira Toriyama really wanted to do, because he wanted to end it after Cell. But because they were like, nah, you need to keep doing this, he made Majin Buu and just kind of went all crazy with it. You know, magic, more Supreme Kais, fusion. It's all over the place. But I still really enjoy this arc. It introduced a lot of really cool things that I just really liked. Let's start now with Dragon Ball GT. Everyone's favorite series to hate on. It has its faults, but it also has a lot of really cool things. I will start by throwing the Black Star Dragon Ball saga in bad arcs. I don't like this arc. This was released later on as a, hey, this is what the adventure was for Goku, Pan, and Trunks looking for the Dragon Balls. And it's not fun. Like, it's zany. It reminds me of, like, old school Dragon Ball, but not in a good, but it just reminded me of, like, the bad parts. It reminded me of just, like, constant filler. It's just like, hey, we don't want this series to end after 64 episodes. Or even less than that, hell. So let's introduce this arc. I do not like this arc. It is not good. I hate the fact that Goku's a kid. It's funny. It would have been funny for Goku to be a kid for the first season, and then after that, get his adult form back. But for some reason, they just like, nah, he's a kid. Let's go with the Baby Saga, and I want to throw that into solid arcs. It's solid. You know what? The dark theme of this series, of this saga or season, is pretty much like a darker version of the Cell saga, the Android saga in a way. Like, it's machine mutants. You know, this is an evil being, a Tuffle who was destroyed. Whose race was destroyed by the Saiyans, and his sole purpose is to get revenge on the Saiyans. And he conquers the planet, you know, like, he accomplishes a lot. He's a parasite who hijacks people's bodies. He hijacks Vegeta's body for most of the saga, which unfortunately keeps him out of it. But like, it's a really good fight. We get Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which is one of the fan favorite transformations. It's so good. I do enjoy this arc a lot. It does have its faults. It's a lot of talking, not a whole lot of action, but for the most part, I think the good outweighs the bad, putting it at least in the solid arcs tier. Next, let's take Android's. Let's take the Android 17 or Super Android 17 arc. I'm gonna throw that into mid. It's such a weird saga. This saga is only 6 episodes, I believe. It encompasses when they host another World Martial Arts tournament, but apparently you have Android 17, who was revived during the Cell saga, who was on Earth, working with an Android 17 that was created in Hell, when they open a portal between Hell and Earth, so that every previous villain could come out and, you know, cause havoc, which is a cool idea and a great idea in concept. But like, nothing really comes about it. Like, we get some cameo screenshots of some villains, like Androids 19, Yakon, Cooler, which is a movie character, which is further pointing that GT is not, it cannot be considered canon, which we all know it's not, but more further proof that it's not canon. But we don't get to see them. We get to see, like, Android 19's head roll because Goten and Trunks killed him. We see Nappa get beaten by Vegeta in one move when Nappa doesn't even say anything. General Rildo makes another return, which I forgot to mention. General Rildo in the Black Star Dragon Ball saga is actually a pretty neat character. But for the most part, it's a very quick, like, oh, done. Now the 17s have merged together and have created this incredibly super powerful being that Goku has to fight with Super Saiyan 4. And it's an okay fight, but, you know, it comes down to Goku and Android 18 teaming up in order to, you know, hit him in his weak point, which is when he's absorbing energy, he can't block. I don't know. It just ended weird. And then it leads up to what a lot of people say is the best arc in the Dragon Ball GT saga, which is the Shadow Dragon arc. And for me, I'm going to put it in great. So, hear me out. The idea that this arc is all about the 7 evil shadow dragons that are formed because every time somebody made a wish on the Dragon Balls, then it creates negative energy, which would dissipate over time. But the fact that the Dragon Balls were being used so frequently didn't allow the Dragon Balls to disperse that negative energy, so it kept getting stored in the Dragon Balls to eventually they couldn't handle anymore, thus creating the 7 shadow dragons, basically punishing Earth for doing what they believe was the right thing at the time for wishing on the Dragon Balls, like reviving these people that died, or reviving this person that died, or trying to fix the planet. For every good thing, there was a negative reaction that happened, and the shadow dragons are a result of it. The arc can come down to a lot of what seems to be filler, not a whole the basic Goku and Pan set off to beat each dragon and recollect the Dragon Balls. And it was only to the final, near the final fight with Ice, Nova, and Sin, then Omega. We get Vegeta turning Super Saiyan 4, you get 2 Super Saiyan 4s teaming up against Omega, and then you get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, one of the absolute GOATs. And just unfortunately nothing happens, to the point where Goku does appear to die and then come back as something else. We don't know what it is, but he came back as a something else, being able to be immune from Omega Shenron's attacks. I love the final fight between Vegeta, Trunks, Goten, and Gohan against Omega. They know they're not winning, but they're going to give their best because they know they're the last line of defense. And then, of course, a Universal Spirit Bomb wins the day. Goku flies off with Shenron, and then we get 100 years later with Goku Jr., Vegeta Jr., Old Pan, and Goku's still alive, but he's like an immortal protector of Earth. The arc had some really cool ideas, but now that I'm talking about it out loud, wasn't solid. Great ideas, I just think poor execution. I think that it's a good way, in a weird way, the ending for GT is honestly a better ending than the ending for Super. At least the anime that we got. But, I don't know, it's definitely... No, it's in great. It's in great. Let's start with the Dragon Ball. Super arcs here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we've been going over for half an hour now. Ooh, damn. Okay. God of Destruction. I'm going to take this as the movie, not the show. Hear me out on this. Not the show. The show, I think, was purposely bad and only extended this because it was something that they needed to redo for some reason. They couldn't just tell people, hey, watch the movies. It is a great reintroduction to the Dragon Ball franchise that a lot of American audiences have not seen in years. The introduction of Super Saiyan God was really cool. I love Super Saiyan God as a form. I wish they would use it more often, and I wish it got more time in the spotlight before Super Saiyan Blue came out. The introduction of Beerus and Whis is so cool. I really love this movie. Speaking of a really good movie, then we have Frieza and the Golden Frieza arc, or Golden Frieza movie, and I'm going to throw that in solid. It's a really solid movie, but it just felt wow, we don't know what else to do. We're dealing with gods and godly powers. Who could possibly be the next villain? Frieza? They bring Frieza back again. He trains for 4 months to obtain a incredibly powerful transformation, and at that time surpassed Super Saiyan Blue, which is the Super Saiyan transformation of Super Saiyan God. It just made no sense. But was it fun to watch? Absolutely. Golden Frieza for Super Saiyan Blue in the movie was so good. And overall, I think the movie is solid. I enjoyed the fighting more in it than I did Battle of Gods, but I think this one it belongs in solid. Next, we have the Universe 6 tournament. And I'm going to put it in mid. I don't know. I think that this arc was an interesting concept. A tournament between two rival universes, which they introduced the multiverse in the series. It was a cool concept, seeing a lot of these quirky Universe 6 characters. You know, some were being duplicates of others, like you had Frost being a Universe counterpart to Frieza. You had Kaba, a Saiyan from Universe 6, who in a weird way you could say is like the counterpart to Vegeta. And you have Hit, this old, 1,000-year-old assassin who is incredibly powerful. And he was able to contend with Super Saiyan Blue. It's cool, like the idea that, Kaioken came back, Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue, which makes no sense. Like a 20 times multiplier, so you're saying it's 20 times stronger than a standard Super Saiyan Blue? I just don't get it. I just think that power scaling got a little crazy in this arc. I don't know. I just think it's an okay arc. It's not bad, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm putting it a little too low. But man, I don't know. Moving on. The Future Trunks / Goku Black arc is a mixed bag. Let me tell you why. Because I think the manga version was done better than the anime version. The anime version set up this really interesting mystery, like who could this guy possibly be? Why does he look like Goku? Oh, Future Trunks is back. That's super awesome. Future Trunks can't catch a break, but then it just kind of the saga kind of petered out a little bit. I think that it's a solid arc, but I think the manga does it better. Like the manga, if I was going based off the manga alone, like I probably put this up in great arcs. But this arc has a lot of things going for it. The Goku Black, the introduction of Super Saiyan Rose, an evil Supreme Kai. You have Vegito making his appearance, Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. The enemy using fusion with Fuse Zamasu. It's such a interesting arc. But the anime ruined it with like Super Saiyan Rage for Trunks, the Spirit Bomb Sword. The manga did it better. That's all I will say. If you haven't read the Dragon Ball Super manga, they do retell a lot of these arcs differently than the anime did, and I definitely would recommend it. Next, we have the Tournament of Power arc. And I think this is a great arc. It is just a giant free-for-all, and the fights that we get are super cool. There is a lot of filler arcs, and filler fights, won't lie, but for the most part, I think this is a great way to have them end the anime portion of Dragon Ball Super. Ultra Instinct is such a cool transformation. I remember when they were first showing it off, we were like, holy crap, Goku gets a new form. Jiren, while being very one-dimensional, was still a good, I think he was basically created as a wall for Goku to surpass. This incredibly powerful dude who's hyped up to be, he's stronger than a god of destruction. Turns out it's just his god of destruction. And Ultra Instinct versus Jiren is such a cool fight. You have God of Destruction Toppo making his appearance. Vegeta using the final explosion again, this time not killing himself. Android 17, Vegeta and Goku teaming up to fight Jiren at the end was such a weird way to look at, weird thing, because, these were all villains at one point, and now they're helping Goku save the universe. It created all these really interesting characters. I think Toriyama got to really go wild with these character designs, so I think it's a great arc for Dragon Ball. And next, we have the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, or Broly arc. I'm gonna put this in best. It's one of the best Dragon Ball movies, hands down. I think the animation for this movie was amazing. Is it one giant fight? Absolutely. But it is such a cool fight. We get the reintroduction of Broly, a non-canon character made canon, redesigned by Akira Toriyama himself, and they actually gave Broly some just personality, It's such a cool... He's now much more of he's such a different character than he was in the original Broly movies. He's a pacifist, but he's possessed by essentially the demon, the Saiyan demon, or the demon Saiyan that is the legendary Super Saiyan every 1,000 years. He is the legendary Super Saiyan still, but it's handled differently in canon Dragon Ball now. It's considered basically like a berserker, but they can't control themselves. And that's a really interesting concept to me. You have the introduction of Gogeta and Gogeta versus Broly, which is something that had been teased a long time ago in Dragon Ball video game intros, but we finally get to see it on the big screen. The animation quality was absolutely top tier. Just loved it. Great movie. Next, we have two sagas that are manga only, that are not in the anime. Moro, God, these two sagas pain me. They make me very. It's disappointing how they ended. They started out incredibly well, but end so poorly. Like, if I was saying, like, the first, like, for majority of the Moro arc, I would say it's a great arc. I think if you take the Moro arc as a whole, I think the Moro arc is great. It just fumbles the bag so much at the end, but not as much as the next arc, and then we'll get to that. But the Moro arc introduces a character that had fought against the Grand Supreme Kai and the South Supreme Kai millions of years ago, Planet Devourer, who eats planets and eats life energy to survive. He was such an interesting character because he used magic, similar to Babidi, but at a far superior scale. His character design was super cool. You actually had this character development with Vegeta basically wanting to protect the Namekians. That, by the way, this takes place, a lot of it on Namek, where Moro is once again searching for the Dragon Balls, or sorry, a villain that is searching for the Dragon Balls on Namek. And Vegeta goes through a bit of a character arc with this, wanting to repay the Namekians for all the pain and suffering that he caused in the Frieza saga, or in the Namek saga. And seeing Vegeta like take the reins, they're like, no, I'm taking this dude down. Moro was such an intimidating villain, and he even defeats Goku and Vegeta and Majin Buu. Get us, we get a fight with Majin Buu again fighting Moro, and that's such a cool fight to me. But the bag is fumbled later on when Moro essentially becomes a carbon copy of Perfect Cell, and it even does a lot of the same things that Cell did. He even does a lot of the same things that Cell did near the end. But like having, Goku Master Ultra Instinct fighting him was such a cool moment. And overall, I do think this arc is really, really good. Now, I cannot say the same about the next arc, the Granola arc, the Survivor. Granola arc started out really, really slow, but then got really, really interesting with, this character that wants revenge on the Saiyans for what they did to him. And essentially, in a weird way, he's almost like a blueprint. Like, they used Baby as a blueprint for him, where his race was destroyed by the Saiyans, under Frieza's orders. And he wants revenge. He finds another pair of Dragon Balls, which, there's another pair of Dragon Balls out there, but except there's only two of them. And he summons the dragon and wishes to be the strongest person in the universe. Can't surpass gods, but he can surpass any mortals. The dragon says yes, but he will take his life force, giving him only 3 years left. This wish gives him essentially the strengths and abilities of all the strongest fighters in all the universe. He's seen using Moro's magic, Goku's instant transmission, he's using Vegeta's Hakai. It's such a weird thing that he just... It's a cop-out. This is not the first time... I guess this is probably like the first of many cop-outs that Dragon Balls have used to buff up characters going forward. You have this really cool fight between Goku, Granola, and Vegeta and Granola. The introduction of Ultra Ego is really cool in this series, in this season. I love Ultra Ego, and I really, really wish they bring it back. But once again, it just devolved into this constantly being one person comes up as the strongest, then another person does, and then another person, then another person, then another person. And it's constantly one-upping each other until Frieza shows up. And then that's when the arc ends. Overall, I think this arc really fumbled the bag, far worse than the Moro arc did. But I think there's still some really cool moments in it that does make it deserving of being in a solid arc. But I could also understand people saying it should be put in the mid arc, or some people say it's even a bad arc. I think, though, for the most part, all the good that it did with flushing out Vegeta and Goku as characters, this is huge arc for Vegeta's character. Vegeta went through another huge character development. The Moro and Granola arc are huge arcs for Vegeta. I think this arc still deserves at least being in the solid tier. Finally, we have this superhero arc. We're throwing it into mid. If we talked about the movie's fun, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's just, once again, another rehash of old ideas. And the fact that we get, the Gammas are really cool. The Gammas are interesting. I like them. Then we have Cell Max, who is a worse version of Cell in almost every way except for sheer power. He's stronger than Cell, but he's worse than him. He can't regenerate. He's a freaking huge Titan. Now, of course, this is not a complete version of him, so we don't know. Maybe he would have looked more like Perfect Cell if he had been perfected or finished, huh? But the movie did do some really cool things with giving Piccolo a huge boost, which he needed to stay relevant. It's just unfortunate that he got the boost from the Dragon Balls again. This is just another time where someone got a huge boost from the Dragon Balls. And Orange Piccolo, I'll admit, is really, really cool. I like Orange Piccolo a lot. And Gohan obtaining his beast form, which is now like the true version of like Gohan's unlimited or unlocked potential. It just, once again, it was Gohan. Like, they really need to stop doing this bullshit of Gohan's a fighter. Gohan's not a fighter. He's a fighter. He's not a fighter. Doing this back and forth until it's just like, just tell us what he is already. You know, but Beast Gohan's insane. It is a carbon copy of Super Saiyan 2. Let's be real here. This movie was pretty much meant to like, hey, remember how cool Super Saiyan 2 Super Saiyan 2 Gohan versus Cell was? Yeah, let's do that again, but like bigger. I'm not a huge fan of the way Beast looks, but it's growing on me. The manga for this was awful. It was literally just for the most part, point by point replay of the movie, except you got a lot of stuff early on with Goten and Trunks attending high school and becoming superheroes. Overall, I think this could have been better, but it's borderline bad. It's borderline bad, but we are done. We're almost 50 minutes into this video, and we finally got done with all of the arcs. I'm just looking at this right now. Is there anything I would change? No, I think this is fine. I think this is good. You know, once again, I am not... Hear me out in case you skip to the end of this video, which shame on you. This is not me saying like the Piccolo arc is the greatest arc in all of Dragon Ball. No, I'm just putting them in these are the tiers. You know, these just were how I rank the sagas / movies. And I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Let me know if you do like this type of content. I might be doing more of it during the slower times of the year when there's not a whole lot of TCG content to do. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure that like and subscribe button if you did enjoy the video, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, guys.